does someone know they're a woman? If they're confused, how do you know you're a woman?
Trans people don't tend to be confused. They tend to be pretty confident.
They are not confused?
They confuse conservatives. They aren't confused themselves. There's a difference there.
So you preferred your pronouns to be
they and them.
They, them. Okay.
So, do you need me to explain how to use that?
Nope, because I'm not going to. What do you care about?
So I'm like she was, like the lady that you just interviewed.
Who?
The lady that you just interviewed. I'm non-binary. My name's Kat. Okay. So instead of being directly trans male to female or female to male, I'm somewhere in the middle.
Okay.
Just
so would you say you were born female?
Yes, I was born.
Okay, so you're in the middle. What does that mean?
So non-binary is, yes, I have my birth gender. I do not deny my birth gender. I'm not actively trying to transition to male, so I'm not taking steps. Like I cut my hair. That was just a personal thing.
It's beautiful.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And I may eventually, if and when it's safe, to go on hormones, but that's to get like a deeper voice, just a bit of a deeper voice. But I'm not actively trying to pass as a male in male society. I'm not trying to go to the male's restrooms.
Okay.
I'm not male clothes, yes, but like they're comfortable.
When did you decide that you were more of ambiguous or what? So I'm gonna ask you that question first. What age were you when you decided I'm not so comfortable being purely a woman, I kind of want to be in the middle?
So my mom always let me dress myself. She let me pick my own clothes. When we would go shopping, she would let me be like, hey, what do you want to go? Where do you want to go? So I grew up wearing both male and female clothes. The boys' cargo shorts were always comfy. And then I grew up and I decided that I got this like what? Let me ask you this: what is the sickest you've ever been? Like the worst feeling you've ever had?
When I was in labor for 43 hours.
Oh God, yeah. So I'm not talking like physical pain, like when you have like that sinking feeling, that hurt in your stomach, that sinking feeling in your heart. That's what it feels like to me to be when I don't feel specifically feminine. That's what it feels like to put on a skirt or a dress or heavy makeup. It's like that sinking, like you're curling in on yourself. And I started experiencing that and I was like, what the hell is this? Because I was 6 or 7 and I was like, what is this? So,
and what was your mom's response to you when you told her that?
I had the sinking feeling itself?
Yeah.
She was like, obviously she offered the standard, oh, is your stomach hurting? Are you sick? And I was like, no, I'm not. I wasn't sick. And I was just like, I don't.
So when you told your mom maybe you weren't so much feminine and you're kind of like thinking about that you weren't purely a girl or you're non-binary, what was her response to that?
I didn't actually start telling her that until I was 15 or 16, so like recently. And it's just kind of like, I want you to be normal. I don't want you to deal with the society. Like, she wasn't worried so much for me as the person I would turn into. She was worried about what other people would think and what society would think and how I would be treated.
Okay. When's the first time you even heard the term non-binary? What were you doing and where did you find that term?
I was in the GSA, the Gay Straight Alliance, for my high school, and I was also 16. So I went for a good 9 years without hearing it, and I was just kind of like, okay, so I like male and female. I like boys and girls.
So your high school had a Gay Straight Alliance?
Yes.
And you were part of that?
Yes.
At what age?
16.
At 16. And
I was a junior in high school.
So you were a junior in high school, and then you started hearing of these terms, and you're like, oh, maybe that's something that actually fits me.
It did take a lot of consideration, actually. Okay. I first heard the singular they being used when I was 9 or 10.
From where? How did you hear about that?
It was just in general, like, conversation. Even my dad, he would probably be a supporter of Charlie Kirk. He used they to refer to one of his work people, and I was like, who are you talking about? Because I had to be involved in everything. I was a very nosy kid.
As kids are.
Yeah. So I was like, oh, who are you talking about? Because he said they, like I thought he was referring to multiple people. And he's like, no, I'm referring to this person. And I'm like, oh, okay. And just kind of moved on with it. And I was like, that's cool. Okay. Moving on.
So you preferred your pronouns to be
they and them.
They, them. Okay.
So, do you need me to explain how to use that?
Nope, because I'm not going to.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not going to pretend that you're a they, them. I know that you're a woman and you were created as a woman and you're perfect that way. And I hope that there are some avenues and some people you can find that support you to let you know you're perfect the way that you are. And there's such a blessing in being a woman and being feminine. We have such a gift that we can have children. We create the love that's in our home, in a marriage, and with our children. There is such a blessing unique to femininity and womanhood, and that is the ability for us to bear children and raise them. We have such a gift that we have this child that we are able to nurture and then grow and shape into a wonderful person in the future. And so don't lose that. I'm not trying to change your mind or anything, but I know you've heard a lot about, you know, they, thems, and maybe you're a they, them, or non-binary, and you might want to take hormones to make your voice deeper.
I stay mostly out of the mainstream LGBTQ+.
Right.
The most thing I would like to do, maybe I'll attend a Pride Parade, that's to show support. I would like to live my life as I do. I would like to exist as myself, and I see the people who are I see the people who are furries, I see the people who use they and them, I see the people who use neo-pronouns. That's good for them, it's not me.
Right.
I just like to exist as me.
Right.
So I support them. They can have fun. As long as they're having fun as themselves, it's fine, and I'm having fun as myself.
Do you think there's anything within the transgenderism ideology or the movement that has been detrimental, and you think that should be walked back? Is there any criticisms of this going on?
Within the trans community, I do not like the attack of some within our own community. There are influencers such as Blair White, Eden the Doll, Calvin Guerra, who turn on their own community to say, hey, I am this perfect passing person, I'm gonna talk down on you. I don't think that's right. It's the same deal. It's the same deal as if it was a fraternity or sorority. You don't talk down to the sisters or brothers in your community or in your house. You don't talk down to the other people in your community.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I appreciate it. What's your name?
Kat.
Kat. It's nice to meet
Nice
you.
to meet
My
you.
name's Kate, so we're close there.
Let's go!
Did you have the chance to talk to him?
I have not. No, I came here first. Yeah.
You
Came
should.
through and
So he won't be here for very long. What is something you want to bring up with him?
I don't know if we'll go talk because it seems pretty crowded, but I was curious about his opinions on gender affirming care for minors.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you think that his answer would
Well,
be?
I think I know the answer,
Yeah,
but I'm curious how it goes with his thoughts on whether gender affirming care should be applied to adults, and because I don't know his answer on that, because I know some conservatives don't like it for adults, some do, and so I wanted to see what his view on that was.
Okay. What do you think gender affirming care is?
What do I think it is, or when do I think it should be given?
No. What is it?
Gender affirming care is a wide variety of both healthcare and social behaviors, where in general, most primarily it's HRT or hormone replacement therapy. So for people who want to be more feminine, they can get estrogen, or for more masculine, more testosterone.
So we are gonna have to move this way, out of the road, and not blocking people. So let's move this way. Yes. So you were saying gender affirming care. What is that?
It takes the form of hormone replacement therapy. For adults, it can have gender reassignment surgery or sexual reassignment surgery, and most common in minors, when it's given to minors, is puberty blockers or puberty suppressants.
Okay. And when do you think that should be given?
I think the CDC and current health associations typically recommend it for people for puberty suppressors before the onset of puberty to prevent
What do you think?
I agree with that, yeah.
You agree with
yes.
that? Okay. Do you think there are any side effects or things that maybe we should look at to say maybe minors shouldn't be getting that before puberty?
To say things we shouldn't, we should look at everything. Obviously, the
Yeah.
entirety of effects is what should be measured. Are there side effects? I mean, all medicine has side effects, but typically what people call the side effects are, the desired effects. So, yeah, there are side effects, of course. If you take estrogen, for example, you have a higher increase of blood clots, because men typically have a lower chance of blood clots, but then cis women have a higher chance of blood clots, so your odds go to that of a cis woman. And so there's typically side effects that wouldn't be desired, but it's not a dangerous side effect, I would say.
A blood clot isn't a dangerous side effect?
Well, so naturally cis women have higher odds of blood clots than cis men. I'm not exactly sure the reason.
What is a cis woman?
It's a woman who is assigned female birth.
So just a woman?
Who is assigned female birth, yes.
Just a woman?
They
then?
are a woman, yes. Cis women are women, yes.
Yeah. So one thing that, we like to hear the conservative talking heads talk about and stuff is, and I already asked someone else this here today, that we're talking about cis women, and I assume that you think trans women are also women.
Yes.
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 So that begs the question, because we're here, the famous question, what is a woman?
Yes, so a woman is someone whose gender identity aligns with the typical phenotypic traits of females or of women. And so the question, of course, is that's kind of vague. It's not exact. It's not desirable. And so you can try and do, like conservatives say, is though do women with XX chromosomes. But that also has gray area. That also has gaps in the understanding, because people with, say, XXY Klinefelter syndrome, you're not going to say they're neither women or men. They're obviously, intersex, and there's gray area whether you call them a woman or a man. It might depend on the individual person.
So that is like a very, very small percentage, and that's actually, that's actually like a defect. So that's like saying someone with 11 fingers, we wouldn't go around and say, well, there's actually nothing that says how many fingers a human has. You know what I mean? So that's kind of like an outlier and a defect. Something went wrong. So normally a woman has XX chromosomes, and
normally,
yes, normally.
And normally women are cis. That is the most common attribute for a woman to have. Normally women are above 4'5" or something. But just because there are people that don't fit the norm definition doesn't mean they're not women. So I'm saying.
Well, I'm just asking what is a woman, and you said someone who identifies with, I guess, female traits. So would you say like long hair? Like what are those female traits?
So it depends on culture, obviously, in American culture versus ancient cultures, whatnot. But yeah, in American culture, women are often defined by stuff like the color pink or stuff like long hair. And now none of these individual traits make you a woman, because if you have long hair, you can be a man. And I think.
But what does make you a woman?
If your gender identity aligns with being.
But what does that mean? What standards would have to be in a gender identity to say, yep, this is a woman?
Are you trying to say, is there some sort of measurable test that could be performed to determine if someone is a woman or not?
We have those, yeah.
Yes,
we do have tests that can be performed to see if someone is a woman. That's how they know if a discovered body is that of a male or a female, because we can tell. We can tell. So I don't know. When people say a cis woman or a trans woman, because I'm a woman, I know I'm a woman, and I'm just wondering, how do we know? How does someone know they're a woman? If they're confused, how do you know you're a woman?
Trans people don't tend to be confused. They tend to be pretty confident.
They are not confused?
They confuse conservatives. They aren't confused themselves. There's a difference there.
So if someone was born a female and is having an identity crisis, and then they start having surgeries or getting on hormone therapies because they're I don't think someone goes to something so drastic because they're super confident. There is a level of confusion and suffering that has to happen to a person for them to make such a drastic change in their life. So that is confusion. For someone to not recognize that they are a woman or they are a man, there has to be something going on. Someone just doesn't wake up one day and goes, well, I have a penis and now I'm a woman because I'm super confident in this decision. There's a lot of suffering, I think, and neglect that happens before. Because people are watching this person go through this and no one's stepping in to help them, and they're most of the time, just affirming this, and then it ends up harming them, and then it harms a lot of people. Do you think there's no confusion if a woman that has been a woman all their life at the age of 16, maybe 18, 20, you think they're not confused if they don't know what gender they are? It's literally it's confusion.
So, because you mentioned if they're getting much of surgeries, they're probably confused, but someone who gets chemotherapy isn't confused if they have cancer or not. They know they have cancer.
Are you relating transgenderism to cancer?
I'm relating gender dysphoria as a mental illness, yes.
So it's a mental illness, a level of confusion that people go through to have to make this change. Although I think maybe we would agree that a lot of this is kind of like trendy. It's kind of trendy along Gen Z and millennials.
we wouldn't agree there.
Yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with clubs that are made in high school. I just talked to somebody actually. They had a gay club in high school that she was a part of, and then no, it wasn't that. And then.
Or they said TSA.
She said the Gay and Lesbian Alliance or something. But that was a club in high school. These are minors being put into the viewpoint of a particular ideology and agenda for what people think should be allowed and normalized in society. And then she comes out miraculously confused about her gender, which is such a harm to gender. Yeah, she is, because she's not sure if she wants to be more masculine or more feminine. She was confused.
They were non-binary.
And that is confusion. How do you not know if you're one or the other?
They said they were non-binary. Yeah. They didn't see anything.
Unfortunately, it's not productive or helpful to a person to affirm them in this confusion that they're experiencing.
They said how they had a massive pit in their stomach when they were growing up, and then
that's a cry for help because she was confused.
And they got the help. They're happy now.
No, she didn't get help.
But
and
if
it's wrong.
Happier, who cares?
That's the thing. So these studies show that when you get treatment for like hormone replacement therapy, or you get like surgeries that help you identify more as the gender you want to be, it's actually a short-term euphoria that people experience, and the depression rates do not change at all.
Yeah,
they don't change, and the suicide rates do not change as well. So we are putting these people to all of these terrible things.
Yeah, you're quoting a study from Sweden in like the early 2010s, and that study doesn't say that. A lot of outlets said it. Said that what the study states is that the depression rate or suicide rate of post-op trans people is higher than that of cis people, which, yeah, that's not shocking.
No, it followed people before and after.
Yeah.
It followed people before and after, and there was no change. There was no change.
What's been the study, I guess, because I think we're talking about
we're talking about the Sweden study.
one, yeah.
No, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah. Hi, how are you?
Howdy, I'm good today.
Good.
Caitlin
good.
Bennett, right?
Good. Yes.
I'm Remy. It's nice to meet you.
Hi, I'm gonna do one of
enough,
these.
I
Yeah,
understand.
germs. Feeling a little sick.
I've been a big fan of yours like since a little kid. When I was in middle school
I
and
guess
stuff.
I am like 29
Yeah,
years
no,
old
I
at
hate
this
to
point.
I have
I'm a
been
little
watching your
old.
stuff since middle school.
How old are you?
I'm 22.
22, okay.
Hate to date you at all with that. But I've been watching a lot of your stuff, like Charlie Kirk stuff, from like a very young age. I come from a very conservative household, very Christian family.
You from Florida?
Yeah,
Cool.
native, born and raised, over in Orlando. Just a stone's throw away. And I watched a lot of your guys' content, like growing up and stuff, and it led me to like work out a lot and be very involved in my church and like do a lot to try and like better myself and my community. And in some ways, I think it was helpful. But overall, I did find that there was this nagging emptiness. There was this nagging feeling of
At church?
just everything, inside of all of what I was doing. And like, I think that in a lot of ways, the bill of goods being sold to young men by the conservative movement today is not nearly as complete as it needs to be.
All right, let's talk
I think
about
that in a lot of ways, it's a very hollow promise, and it's one that leaves a lot of men disappointed.
So what are the promises that conservatives are trying to sell young men?
In a lot of ways, I think that there's like a high prioritization of masculinity, of being very strong in a physical sense. And I don't always think that's necessary. I think that health, especially, comes in a lot of different forms for people. Now, that's not me saying that you should be 400 different pounds and like you're healthy at that point. Obviously not. Simply that like, a guy that prefers to do yoga and like go on runs is just as much of a man as a guy who lifts 300 pounds,
Right.
I also think that in some ways the over-prioritization, at least I found, it's very easy to develop like body dysmorphia, I think it is, body dysmorphia, as a man when you're working out a lot. Like you spend a lot of time very focused on this image of being stronger, and there's an image put forth by a lot of conservative networks and movements that prioritize that kind of masculinity. And I don't think that's really healthy.
Okay. Who in particular would you say are kind of like channeling that?
Well, I mean, if you look at like Steven Crowder's like a really jacked guy. I mean, he definitely puts on that, I don't want to say like facade, but more like a persona of being a very archetypal man's man. And
Okay.
I don't really think that's super healthy for a lot of men to aspire to. And I found that there was a very high prioritization of that as a form of masculinity to aspire to.
Okay.
I find that it led me to a very hollow place. And I've seen my brother, who's very much like still very conservative. I'd say I've probably lightened up just a little bit. Maybe that's the college, maybe that's just like living life. But I found that the stories you're told in your bedroom when you're watching videos and stuff are not nearly as accurate to reality as I'd like them to be. And I find that in a lot of ways, this kind of media, it's not been as helpful as I wish it was to me when I was at that young age.
Yeah, I'm sorry. How old were you? You said when you would have started.
Like 13, 14 when I started watching stuff. I remember thinking.
Well, real quick, I don't condone 13-year-olds being on YouTube unfiltered and having access to all kinds of media. I think media should be filtered through the parents and should be selected and watched before children watch it. I would never ask a 13-year-old to watch my content because there are things that we talk about and things that happen that might not completely understand and gets really confusing. So I don't condone that at all. I'm sorry if you've been left to feel like, you know, things were not helpful or misleading. I would say who comes to mind when you talk about masculinity and maybe not being is Michael Knowles. He's not very, you know, a man's man. He's super, you know, cigars and whiskey and let's read a book and play the ukulele. And I think he is actually a great example of masculinity. One, because of his faith. I think a masculine man is really strong in his faith and knows a lot about it, and that's something that Michael he's really strong in his faith. He also talks so highly about his wife and his children, and I think that's a masculine trait too, is to have a lot of respect and love for your wife and for your children and the family that you want to create and protect. I'm a Catholic.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And so ask how you feel about like the church in today's society, because I personally feel like, at least for a lot of denominations, it's really been falling short as of late. I look around myself at a lot of services and I don't see a lot of people my age that are nearly as involved as I wish they were, especially like going to like a good, you know, 10:30 p.m. or 10:30 a.m. service on a nice Sunday. You eat breakfast with your family, you go to church, and I look around myself and I just see a rapidly aging audience, and I can't help but feel like maybe the church isn't quite doing enough to reach out to people, or maybe it is focusing on some of the wrong things.
So I think, number one, I agree with you that a lot of, especially Gen Z, right? Yeah. They probably, church is not at the forefront what they're thinking of. We differ a little bit because I'm Catholic. The other denominations all kind of have their own things. I can't speak to what's going on in those churches, but particularly the Catholic church that I go to is thriving with young families. There's new babies, like 3 to 5 babies being born every year in my church. It's like a daycare in there when we go to Mass, and it's beautiful. It's the best sound that you can ever hear in a Mass. But what I would say is I wouldn't so look at the church. I would so look at the parents. It's not the church's job to try to bring children in. They should have catechized the adults, and they should have had a better. And that's a term that Catholics use.
No, I'm familiar with
catechized. Yeah. So they should have catechized the adults to have a better understanding of their faith, to embrace it and be emboldened in their faith, than to pass that on to their children. So I don't necessarily think it's a criticism of the church. And the Catholic Church has not changed for 2,000 years. So they have always been who they are and will always be. You know, the church that Christ founded. So I don't think it's the church's problem. I think it's unfortunately through the years there's generations that have not been properly catechized and then have had a lacking faith, and then it's passed on to their children, and which is such a disservice because it's the parents' job to raise a child in faith. It's not necessarily the church's job, but they can do more. Everybody can always do more to bring people to God and to Christ and stuff like that. So there's never no room for improvement.
And I mean, I'll be transparent. You know, I'm a musician. I spend time on the road touring and stuff, and I found that it can be difficult to maintain a degree of regularity when you're doing that. I was curious as to what your experience has been, because I figure, you know, you go around the country pretty often, spend a lot of time on the road. How do you balance that? How do you find like space for your faith in that? Yeah,
so I love this question because I actually took off a few years from my work and traveling to be a mom and to focus on my children and my faith. I converted to Catholicism from atheism, actually, when I was pregnant with my first child, and so that was what was important to me. And so I took time off because within my faith is also my motherhood. It's rooted on all the same. So to be true to my motherhood and to be true to my faith is the same thing, and that was taking time away from filming and traveling and creating content and being solely with my children to be the best mom that I can be and give them exactly what they need. I think women should be there for their children primarily if the means is to do so, and I'm so blessed with everybody who supports my content and monetarily or even in viewership gave me the opportunity to take such a long amount of time off to be there with my children. And so that's how I do it, but also you have to prioritize that. And so if you're traveling around and you know, it's a Mass time and you have an obligation to go to church, you go. It's up to you. You just go. And if you're traveling and you know, that's what it is, if you're going to get in trouble for skipping something, going to Mass, what's more important? You have to decide what's more important for yourself. Church and Christ, or I don't know, playing the guitar. So
fair enough. Well, thank you so much for your time today.
It was nice talking to you. What was your name?
Remy.
Remy, it was really nice talking to you. So I love your hat.
Thank you.
I noticed it's out here. Jesus loves you. If you could say something to, I guess, some of the people that would disagree with Charlie or disagree with me and don't realize the perfect image in which God created them, what would you say to them?
I would say that obviously a lot of people like to cherry pick from the Bible. It does say that God loves everyone, but it also says to turn away from sin and be completely changed and transformed. So I believe that once you accept Jesus as your Lord and Savior, you become a new creation, a new creature, and I feel like that's what you and Charlie promote the best. I feel like that's what you're gonna do. That's why you will be a great mother, because in Proverbs it talks about how when you guide your children in the ways of the Lord, then they will never depart from it. So as long as you keep doing that, it will go very smoothly for you, and I'm very much in agreement with that. My children, I'm going to more than likely try to steer them away from the public image, because when you're a child, you're easy to mold.
Yeah.
When you're a child, you're essentially like potting clay, right?
Yeah,
So,
my child all the time thinks that I don't like to say the gender of my children, but you know, there's a lot of pretend trains, let's just say, and we think we're trains a lot of the time, but we're obviously not trains. And so,
exactly.
You know.
So children are easy to mold. Shoot, they believe in Santa, and you have to get them one day, sit them down, and be like, oh, hey, Santa's not really real, and you gotta, so it's a lot of that, and well, I had another point that I was going to bring up, but yeah, it is hard on the spot. Yeah, it is. But no, yes, it was nice talking.
Being out here with your shirt or with your hat, yeah.
That's what I was gonna say. Of the young lady that was here up, I heard her bring up a point of brown and colored people. Like I'm Hispanic. I'm first generation Hispanic in Florida. So, and for me, I don't think it was as difficult as people perceive it to be in the school area. I'm riding on a good scholarship right now because of my hard work and my effort, not because of my skin color. So that's what a lot of people get confused nowadays is, oh, they should be hired for this job because we want diversity. No. They should be hired for the job because they're qualified, because they're supposed to be there. So.
Do you feel at all? Because I made the point that when my college had a special orientation just for Black and brown students, separate from the orientation for everybody else, do you think that's insulting? Because I feel like I was like, well, do they really need extra? Do you really think that they need extra hand holding? I was like, I don't know. I'm not Black. Maybe Black people like that.
I will speak on your behalf and say I don't agree with that, because I'm very biblically based. In the Bible, it says we're all created in the image of God. Yeah. No one is higher, greater than anyone else. We're all the same. We all commit this. We've all lied before, I'm pretty sure, right? Yeah. So we're all equal under God. So whether you're Black, white, Asian, no matter what it is, you're a human being at the end of the day. So I feel like there should be no separation between Black, white, colored, whatever. I feel like America's gotten really good at that lately. Like, we're very diverse. I've met so many Hispanics here, so many white people here, so many Black people here. Like, it's a very, very well diverse group of people here, and I feel like we should all stick together. So that's it.
I agree with that. Thank you. What was your name?
Thank you. Adi.
Adi, it was nice to meet you. I'm Kate. Things were pretty peaceful today, but I still brought security with me. Go to patreon.com/Kaitlin Bennett. Even $5 a month helps me pay for security out here and pay the babysitter that has my children that I miss so much. If it's more convenient for you, you can leave a super thanks right down below while you're watching this video, and that helps support my work as well. Thanks.